All right, it is halftime. The Kings trail the Warriors 53-48 in what is a up and down, fairly competitive game. Joining me for the halftime show, since Grant is in the air on his way to Sacramento's Connor. Connor, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing good, Rhino. How you doing?
Doing great. Awesome to have you, man. So, just to kick you off with some numbers, the Kings shoot 33.9% from the field. They shoot 36% from the 3 point line. Or excuse me, from the 3 point line. Free throws only got to the line one time. So, that was a little bit interesting. Surprisingly, assists are not bad. Assists 15, turnovers only 3 for the Kings in the first half. Connor, what are your first thoughts on the first half?
Well, it was looking like the Warriors were gonna run away with this game in the first quarter, but I got to give Mike Brown, the Kings, some of these deep bench guys a lot of credit. They're continuing the fight, and guys like Trey Lyles and Keegan Murray are trying to make a game out of this. And right now, it's a 5 point game, which in the NBA is basically nothing. So if they can do this in the second half, you never know. But you better know that the Warriors are gonna bring their best in the second half.
Yeah, they are, Connor. And the Warriors are playing at a frenetic pace right now. I mean, they are all over the court. We saw that in that first quarter where they absolutely dominated for the most part, but they've been really sloppy with the basketball. They've had in double digits 12 turnovers tonight. Curry, he's been getting things going a little bit, but everybody else has been a little bit off. So, what have you made of the lineups that Mike Brown's put out there so far tonight?
I've liked them. You see guys like Alex Len continuing to create a lot of second chances. I thought Rashawn Holmes came in. I mean, he's such a professional coming in, not getting a lot of minutes this year and just still doing what he does. And then guys like Davis, Lyles, and Murray trying to string together some runs with the three ball. And I thought Lyles was the biggest X factor, which is great to see because he's been the king that has the biggest role in this team that's been slumping the past couple weeks. We saw in the last game he showed signs of life, and then this game is continuing that. So that's a great sign for Kings fans heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. In the bench, Lyles specifically 8 points off the bench. The bench has given them some pretty good production up until the last couple of minutes of the first half. The bench was outscoring the starting unit for the Kings. We got somebody saying this is a little bit like the Spurs game. Do you see any similarities there, Connor?
Yes and no. I mean, the you're not playing against Doug McDermott and those guys, and the Warriors are playing for their playoff lives basically and trying to get that top six spot secured. The Spurs were just playing for pride, so there's not much to connect this game to that one, especially with the level of competition you're playing against tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because the Warriors do have their backs against the wall. This is a game they need to win, or else they possibly could be looking at that play-in spot. And the Kings are hanging in there and taking their best shot for the most part. And I think there's still a lot of room for improvement with the Kings. They got a lot of shots up in the first half, but they are shooting a low percentage from the field, much lower than normal, 33.9% to the Warriors, 45%. So look for that to improve. I have not been very impressed with Terrence Davis. Looks like he is really trying to force things a little bit too much. And that's something that I've noticed the last few times that he has gotten some run. Here's a comment on HB. HB needs to be professional and sit out the second half. What do you think about that, Con?
That's absurd. I don't know. It's probably just to get us a little angry, but I mean, obviously, Harrison Barnes, he does his thing. He wasn't going to sit this game. I think we all knew that. I think he's played every game this year for this team. Obviously, he's been on the Warriors before. He knows their game a little, and just you know what you're going to get from Barnes, and that's what's great about him. A lot of people talking about maybe letting him go in the offseason, but you're seeing the leader he can be and that option that he can be when Fox and Sabonis aren't hitting or even in the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's a little bit of a little troll job there. HB, if he was going to sit out, he'd already be sitting out. I mean, if you noticed, he's on an exercise bike every time he's not in the game. So that's professional to a T. I completely disagree with you, Alex. This is not a measuring stick for our depth in the playoffs because the majority of the guys out there are not going to be getting minutes in the playoffs other than the guys that started minus Davis. And then your main bench players, Lyles, Edwards, and Len started tonight. So I don't think it's a measuring stick at all. I mean, it's just it goes to the scrappiness of this team. And you could tell that first quarter they were really uncomfortable. They were not playing together because obviously that's a unit that doesn't normally play together. One thing that I found interesting was Keegan Murray. So Keegan had a little bit different of a first half, only I believe 3 points in the first half, 1 3-pointer. And it shows the difference in his game when he doesn't have players around him creating shots for him. What do you think? How can he play better in the second half, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Keegan Murray. He's a guy that's still a rookie. We have to keep in mind he's obviously going to progress as he gets more years under his belt with creating his own shot and stuff. But like you said, with Fox and Sabonis, they're so easy to play with their passing vision, and all Keegan really has to do is spot up on the wing. And obviously, he can do more than that as a shooter. But in a game like this, where he's basically being asked to be the number one scoring option, I'm not sure that he's ready for that role, and maybe he's kind of forcing his shot a little too much. We saw him take 8 shots, he only knocked down 2. So I think Terrence Davis is also guilty of that, kind of chucking up too many when they're not falling. And then Davion Mitchell, another basically example that he's not ready to start in this league on offense. He just basically contributed nothing again, which is a shame, but I don't think it's anything to be concerned about because that's not going to be his role in the playoffs.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I really like Jay's comment here. I thought the Warriors did step off the gas a little bit, and they've been extremely, extremely sloppy with the basketball, specifically in the second quarter. But I kind of saw that same comparison. It did look like in the first quarter, it was like a JV team versus a varsity team, the way the Warriors came out. So and a couple of people asking, who's this kid? Who's this kid? That's not a kid. That is Connor. That's C-Dog 25. Come on. You guys know him. He has been on the show before. So anything you're looking for in the second half, Connor, in terms of positives, whether the Kings win the game or not, regardless?
Well, I'm looking at the Warriors side. I mean, I expected much more from them, to be honest, in this first half to come out playing with a lot more passion and a lot more focused. You saw Steph Curry kind of just throw the ball away. Wasn't on the same page about twice in that first quarter.
Yeah.
Very unlike him. So if you're on the King side of things in this game, takeaways, you're looking for your guys that are going to play in the playoffs off the bench, like Davion Mitchell and maybe a Terrence Davis a little bit and Alex Len, to maybe show that they can play with the big boys and stuff and show some signs that they're not just going to give up. I don't want to see the Kings get absolutely blown out in the second half. I want to see some fight from them. And if this is a close game late, obviously you favor the Warriors. But I think if this is a close game for the Kings, that's a win, no matter whether they win or lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for that, by the way. If you're new to the channel, please go subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Grant is actually on his way to Sacramento right now. He is in the air, so that's why we're taking over for the night. So thanks for joining us. Hello, Lids. How you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well. I think to me, this game is not so much about winning. I think the Kings have already shown what they kind of need to show to this point. I would be more concerned at this point with injuries and actually starting to ramp down some of the minutes for some of the more significant players, whether that be Keegan Murray, HB, probably ramp him down a little bit, but he has done a really good job on Green so far tonight, I thought. And that's an interesting matchup there. But I just want them to get out injury free. I don't think if the win mattered to them, they would have played everybody tonight. So obviously that's not what they're shooting for. But if it happens, so be it. So again, the Kings down 53-48 right now to the Warriors. Second half's going to be coming up while we have a minute. You know what? I saw this man sitting in the front row tonight, Brian Bennett. Let me tell you about Bennett's restaurant. Absolutely amazing. They have locations in Roseville, Sacramento off of Howe and Fair Oaks, and a third location opening very soon in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Brian Bennett, one a huge sponsor of the show, huge fan of the huge fan of the Kings. Also at the game tonight, like I said, and go check them out. They have amazing food. They've got a great bar. They've got a wine selection of over 50 different wines. I love the redfish. Comes with some sauteed spinach. They've got prime cuts of steak, and they've got great specials going throughout the week. Sunday's prime ribs. Sunday is brunch. They have a mimosa special. Definitely one of our favorite places to dine in Sacramento, and we're likely going to be holding an event there when Grant gets here for all of you to come out and hang out with us. So go give Bennett's a try. You definitely will not be disappointed. Again, Bennett's in Roseville, Sacramento, and soon to come in Rockland in the Blue Oaks Town Center. All right, so Connor, we always do this at halftime. What do you think the final score is going to be? And everybody in the chat, throw your scores up as well.
Well, I'm looking at a first half that for the NBA of today, very, very low scoring, with a team only scoring in the 40s is pretty crazy. I expect that to obviously ramp up, and that's obviously partially due to the Kings sitting their guys, but I'm going to say that the Warriors will probably get a little bit of control in the second half. I don't think they're going to get the big 30-point blowout that maybe they're looking for, but I'll say 116 to 104 Warriors tonight.
Okay, Connor is going 116-104. I actually think this will be the second time this year the Kings are held under 100 points. I'm going to say Warriors 118, Kings 99. I just don't see them getting it going. I don't think the 3-pointers are going to stay at 36%. I see them going down from there. And then obviously free throws. There's only been one this half for the Kings. Warriors taking 10 of 10, 100%. So we'll see how that plays out. And here's another thing that could play out. And we were talking about momentum in the pregame show. This would be, if the Kings lose this game, it's be the second time this season they've had a 3-game losing streak, the last time being in November. And if they were to lose to the Nuggets, that would only be the second 4-game losing streak, first one being what started off the season 0-4. So hopefully if they can get it, then that will break that and we don't have to worry about that. All right, Garrett's got his score in. He's saying Kings 110, Warriors 90. Wow, you think the Warriors are only going to score 47 points in the second half? All right. And Furious, he has Kings win. No score. Come on, Furious, get your score in there. Warriors win 114-101. Greg says 118-106 Warriors. Jay's going 114-111 Kings. So, all right, we got some people still giving the Kings some love, thinking that they are going to win this one. They did. You're correct. They did. They exploded. They're flirting with 50 wins, but just saying, you're going into the playoffs. You don't want to be losers of 4 going into that. I agree, John. Great job, Connor. He's going 122-111 Warriors. Place your bets here. Kings win. All right. So I think, do you think they're going to hold Curry and Thompson in check here in the second half, or who do you think is going to be the player that could really, really get it going for the Warriors?
Yeah, I don't think it's really possible to keep Curry and Clay in check for 2 halves, and then you got a third splash brother at this point in Jordan Poole who can also torch you up. But I thought Jonathan Kuminga came in off the bench and had a very solid first half. But
good point.
I think it comes down to the X factor of Curry and Clay. We saw a lot of open threes that they were given in the first half, and they're going to hit their shots in the second half, I think. And Steph Curry at Golden One Center, there's something about him. He turns into another level.
Yeah, he almost took a couple fans' heads off there in the first half, in the first row, with some turnovers. But yeah, Curry's got 13. To your point, Kuminga 10 points off the bench. He did play well. Thompson only with 10. I have a feeling that Thompson's going to get it going. And, Draymond Green, only 2 points, doesn't score much, but They do have, speaking of Golden State, the rebounding advantage right now on the Kings. I look for that to continue because the Kings lineup has been pretty small. So anyways, all right, the second half is getting ready to tip off. Connor, thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you all for being here. We will be back for the post-game show. Grant, again, is on his way to Sacramento, which is why we are handling the responsibilities tonight. So we will see if it's going to be a Kings win and the beam lit in their last home regular season game. Until then, we will see you in the post game.